today we're going to be putting a bit of a folk art spin on the famous Mockingjay pin from the Hunger Games books. So to begin the Mockingjay pin, you're going to want to start by soaking about 10 straws with no heads. Now if you've never woven with wheat before, you can click here to get the basics. Now the first plate we're going to be using is known as the 4-straw fill the gap. So you'll start the pin by tying together 4 of the straws up at the top. Then what you want to do is fold down the straws as though you had 5 of them, and you would evenly space the 5, which will of course leave you a gap right here where the 5th one would be. So as the plate is called Fill the Gap, what you're going to do is just take the piece across from the gap, which would be this one, you're going to fold it over into the gap. So now the gap is over here, so you'll take this piece, which is now across from the gap, and fold it over into the gap. So now the gap is over here, so you'll take this piece and fold it over into the gap. Now the gap is over here, so you'll take this piece and fold it over into the gap. And then once again the gap is over here, so you'll take the piece across from it and fold it over into the gap. And a good way to judge which piece you fold is you'll take one piece, it will go over one and end up in the gap. And so then this one will go over this one, end up in the gap. This one goes over this one and ends up in the gap. And then you'll just keep going around like that for quite a while. So when your plate gets to you about 4 or 5 inches long, you'll just tie off the ends. And then of course you'll just trim off the ends of the thread and the extra bits of straw. Now this plate can be left like this, or you can take the end of it and hold on to it and then just run your fingers across it, and that will stretch it and it gives it a whole new look. It also makes it a couple inches longer. It gives it more of a braided rope look when you stretch the plate. And then of course you'll just secure the 2 ends of it together with a piece of thread so that you have the circle of the pin. So what you're going to do next is soak some thicker pieces of straw that are about 2 or 3 inches long. You're going to let those soak for a few minutes, and once they're wet, you're just going to take a pair of scissors and just split them right down the center. And what you're going to want to do is just open the straw out, and you're going to take an iron, and then just iron the straw flat. And you want to iron the straw until it's completely dry, and then it will hold its flat shape. And of course you'll iron both sides of it. And so what that does is it gives you a nice flat piece of straw. You're going to want to do that to about 15 of them. So once you've got your pieces of straw ironed out flat, you're going to want to Google the words Hunger Games Mockingjay, and you'll end up with about a bajillion images of the famous bird, and so you'll just transfer that to a piece of cardstock. So then what you'll do is just apply a little glue to the back of your bird, and then you'll start by putting the flat pieces of straw right over the top of it. We'll just cover the entire bird. So once you've got the entire bird covered in straw, you're just going to want to let the glue dry. So when the glue is dry, you're just going to cut out the straw in the shape of the bird, following the cardboard on the back. And so then once you flip it over, you've got your Mockingjay. So then what you'll do is measure out where the bird will go on the pin and use the wing to cover up where the two pieces meet for the circle. And then you'll just take and put a little dab of glue on the back side where each of the pieces will meet on the pin. Then you'll just glue that back together and wait until it dries. And then if you want it to be an actual pin, all you have to do is turn it onto the back side and hot glue a safety pin onto the back side.